We speak. Our words. We listen.
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 The Spectrum Voices Conversation, Harry's Facebook page, is sponsored by coldpack.co.uk, which means if you're a practitioner, an osteopath, a physiotherapist, a chiropractor, a dentist who requires cryotherapy that also has the practice details and website and logo printed on their pack to remind your patients of you, then we gain when you buy from them. And if you need to replace a cold pack as an end user, coldpack.co.uk gives everything that you spend on that website as a donation to us.
This is Harry's Facebook for Sunday, the 2nd of November 2025. This is where we have discussion on the Facebook posts shared on the Autistic Radio Facebook page. And the first post is from Autistic Realms, which is an education website advocating for a better understanding of neurodivergence and mental health in education. And they've shared the following: Understanding the Double Empathy Problem, a guide for autistic people and families. And I'll read this the intro for a discussion. As an autistic parent or carer navigating the world with an autistic child or young person, you may often feel two things at once: deep intuitive connection with your child and frustration when so many others simply don't get what you are trying to say or misinterpret your communication. Social interactions can be so exhausting for everyone involved. The double empathy problem can help make sense of these experiences, not as a failure of you or your child because you're autistic, but as a shared challenge in communication and understanding between people who experience the world differently.
It's a touchstone, isn't it? It's a touchstone of the neurodiversity movement. The double empathy problem is that you empathize with a different group of people. Two groups of people, your neurodiverse group and your non-neurodiverse group. And you might have a little bit more understanding intuitively with your own group than you might with the group that's different to you. And I don't think we can say it often enough, Harry, though, it's really at the heart of the idea of if you're autistic, thinking the way you do is okay. Your brain working the way it does is natural to you. The double empathy problem is recognizing at its heart the difference in the way that people communicate and the difference in when they're looking for similarity. Human beings are a group. They look for similarity, but there's a difference, and the difference is between two groups of people, and it's the neurodivergent people who are divergent from the other people. Simple as that. No, it has to be said again and again. It underlines the whole principle of being proud to be autistic rather than thinking you're broken.
It's a really important issue because there's this myth that autistic people don't have empathy, whereas they just express it differently.
I don't know. I don't like this phrase, double empathy. I don't understand it. You've explained it there, Jules, but the words themselves, double empathy, what does that mean?
I think I didn't know what this was. I was even wondering about it this week. It's a good explanation that you gave, Jules. It helped me a little more than the post, but it just could be that you said it after the post, so I have two ways in. I think it might be harder if you're diagnosed late because you've been living in this world where you might have thought you were part of the larger group. But I remember something now that Jules has said what he said, and it is that I used to, in the workplace, have empathy for people who I now, looking back, suppose may have been autistic. I think they were. And I was able to communicate with them and almost as a conduit between the two places, even though I didn't know I was in the neurodivergent world yet. I think about that often. And then the other thing I think about is with my own children, that I could have done better because they were neurodivergent, not in exactly the same way, but you worry so much about your children, it might be hard to achieve this double empathy.
I'm talking in the chat with Ray, and he said that, okay, I said it's a phrase to sell a book, the double empathy problem. A few decades back, it was a buzz phrase. Ray said, I assumed that it meant that you can only get on with other autistic people. And what I want to put out there is that it was a phrase used to actually get the medical world to recognize that autistic people had fucking empathy at all. Because up until that point, they were saying that we could not empathize with the way everyone else was in the same manner that so-called normal children did. So the double empathy problem was actually a fight back from the neurodivergent community to say, no, it's just that we empathize with each other in ways that you don't understand, and you empathize with each other in ways that we don't understand. So it's very much part of the push forward, but it now feels all old-fashioned and uncomfortable. It feels like a decade-old concept. I'm really glad that people like the way I phrased it out there, because I think I did it differently to the double empathy problem.
Touching on with was the article explains what is the double empathy problem. And the double empathy problem, Damien Milton 2012, highlights the misunderstandings between autistic and non-autistic people happen both ways. The word double matters. It isn't just a difficulty for autistic people understanding others. Non-autistic people also struggle to understand autistic perspectives, communication, and experiences. This isn't about a lack of empathy or social ability. It is about a mismatch of lived experiences, different ways of communicating, expressing emotions, reading cues, interpreting the world, processing sensitive information, and building relationships. Add in other differences and intersectionality that may be at play, such as differences at whether or not, or minimally speaking, a different age, race, culture, or sex, and it can become even more complex to try to communicate. So it's communicating differences.
It's part of the history. Before Damien Milton was getting attention, the neurodiversity movement as we see it now, this accept a whole range of different presentations, understand that women can be autistic, whereas previously thought they couldn't be, and that a much wider group of people share autistic traits than was otherwise thought. You know, that whole thing that has happened in the last 5 years, never mind 10 years, would not really have happened without Damien Milton. And Damien Milton pointing out in a way that would be listened, and he pointed out in a way that was readable for the prevailing body, and that was the medical profession. I saw Damien at the Scottish Parliament when I was in a committee, and I was impressed by the way he was there as a witness. So it's almost as though we've gone beyond it a bit in our own heads now. It's a little bit yesterday's news and chip papers, but we have to keep reminding ourselves, I think.
Did we say what were we thinking before he came along and explained this and draw that comparison?
That's exactly it. You know, can you go to a world where you don't think that there are different groups of people that get on with each other naturally better, which is what empathy is? Oh my goodness, yes.
Stick in living the dream. PhD candidate, researcher, speaker and trainer. Queer, disabled and very tired. Halloween. What are we doing tonight? To family party to go and some trick or treating. Halloween t-shirt and Frankenstein monster boppers as I'm low-key dress-up person. Picture of me at pumpkin time in front of a glow in the dark spider mural by Bigger Design Co. My favourite woolly hat. A scarf I borrowed from my mother years ago and I've never gave back. and little man's Spider-Man rucksack.
I took the batteries out of my musical doorbell because there was just tons of kids coming round the doors, guising, and he just took the batteries out so I wouldn't get disturbed by it all the time. Thing. To me, it's always that time of year where the veil is thin, and so I was way off in little themes of like, you know, being possessed by ancient ancestors, because I was doing some genealogical research, and it was just, my mind was full of people who are gone, and they were coming back and surprising me in various ways with little documents that I was discovering. For some photographs I responded to online of people who were like old characters in Edinburgh. I remember a while back, Morris alerted us to the fact that he was going to attend a tribute to somebody who was a street person who had passed away in Edinburgh, and some of these people are really well known, and so to see their faces again coming back in photos and people talking about them was, I think, a very new experience.
A Halloween party last night, something that's organised by my sister's friend, and she invites all her friends along. I was lazy. I decided to dress as a Scotsman. Just stuck on a Scotland football top, wore one of my tartan ties and stuck a hat on. It was a good night, and it was good to see so many people making the effort to dress up. There was someone that was dressed up as a T-Rex, a 14 or 15-year-old boy, and it's like, it was a lot of effort. It wasn't something easy to take on or off. Like a lot of things that I've seen people, it's like, even if it's a right good costume, it can be taken off easily at the head, so you obviously can have a drink or whatever, or breathe. So, yeah, it was good to see, and it was good to be, even it's not my scene in terms of being around a lot of people, but it was comfortable enough because I was sitting with my family. It was very good, and I really enjoyed it.
There's a bit of an unwritten rule around here that if the house isn't decorated, you don't knock, so they stay away. Back in the day, firework night, the next morning you'd come out and the gates had been lifted and car tyres let down, and that sort of gradually slid into October 31st. But there's very little trouble now, but I'm very uncomfortable with it, really.
It's that thing of like, the people coming round, the kids, would only go to premises where people had decorated it in a Halloween theme. Yeah, that was happening. And what you were saying there about the day after bonfire night, I always remember the smell. Yeah. There's a factors about this time of year.
Thanks for everyone who took part in the conversation. And thanks to the people who shared these posts that we've discussed tonight.
Spectrum Voices Conversation is an Autistic Association production for autisticradio.com. If you have something to share with us, if you need a voice, you can make different kinds of programs with us. You can make a 10-minute short, or you can join us for a podcast to talk about a subject that is dear to your heart, or something you think needs a wider audience. We have an open door policy for divergent views. We do not necessarily agree with everything that we share on our Facebook pages or the words expressed in our podcast. There are a lot of different divergent views which we are trying to allow get aired so that people can see things from different people's vantage points. We hope that you will join that conversation. Contact us through any of our links, Facebook, by email, directly to us.